My name's Robert Miller. Bobby, they called me. I was 19 years old on June 6th, 1944. Just 19. I grew up in a small town in Ohio. My dad worked at the steel mill, came home every night with his hands black and his back aching. My mother kept house, grew vegetables in our backyard, made the best apple pie in 3 counties. Simple life. Good life. I graduated high school in 1943. There wasn't much choice about what came next. The war was on, and every boy my age knew where he was headed. I enlisted in September, told myself I was doing it for my country, for freedom, all those things they put on the posters. Maybe I believed it then. Maybe I just didn't know any better. Basic training at Fort Benning was hell, but a different kind of hell than what was coming. They ran us ragged, taught us to shoot, to march, to follow orders without thinking, made us into soldiers. Or tried to, anyway. You can't really make someone a soldier until they've seen what soldiers see. I made friends. That's what you do when you're scared and far from home. There was Jimmy Kowalski from Detroit. Always cracking jokes, could make you laugh even when you were dog-tired and miserable. And Tommy Chen from San Francisco, quiet kid, played harmonica beautifully. And Danny Sullivan from Boston, red-headed Irish kid who talked about his girl back home constantly, had her picture in his helmet. By May of 1944, we were in England. Somewhere in the south, they didn't tell us exactly where. Thousands of us camped in fields, training for something big. Everyone knew it was coming. The invasion, the big push into France. They didn't tell us when, didn't tell us where exactly. Just made us practice climbing down cargo nets, running up beaches, loading and unloading landing craft, over and over. My hands got raw from the ropes. My legs ached from the running. The waiting was almost worse than the training. Sitting there, knowing it was coming, not knowing when. Some guys wrote letters home every day. Some prayed. Some just got quiet, went somewhere inside themselves. I tried not to think about it, tried to focus on the small things, the taste of the terrible coffee, the sound of rain on our tents, Jimmy's stupid jokes. But at night, lying in my bunk, I'd think about that beach, whatever beach it was going to be. I'd imagine the Germans waiting for us, their guns trained on the water. I'd imagine running across open sand with nowhere to hide. On June 5th, they told us. Tomorrow. We're going tomorrow. I didn't sleep that night. None of us did. We just lay there in the darkness, listening to each other breathe, thinking our own thoughts about what the morning would bring. I remember thinking about my mother's apple pie. Strange thing to think about before an invasion. But I did. Wondered if I'd ever taste it again. Turns out some questions are better left unanswered. We loaded onto the landing craft before dawn. Omaha Beach, they told us. That's where we were headed. The English Channel was rough. The boat pitched and rolled, and half the guys were sick before we even got close. The smell of vomit mixed with diesel fuel and salt water and fear. You could smell the fear. Sharp and metallic, like copper in your mouth. I was packed in tight with maybe 30 other guys. Couldn't move. Could barely breathe. The steel walls of the Higgins boat felt like a coffin. Jimmy was next to me, his face green, trying to make jokes, but his voice was shaking. Tommy was in front, clutching his rifle like it was the only real thing in the world. The sound of the engines was deafening, and underneath it, the steady thump of artillery. Our ships pounding the beach, trying to soften up Jerry's defenses. It sounded like thunder, constant rolling thunder. "This is it, boys," Lieutenant Morrison shouted over the noise. Young guy, maybe 22, trying to sound confident. "When that ramp drops, you run. You run, and you don't stop until you reach the seawall. You understand?" We understood. We'd practiced it 100 times, but practice isn't the same, not even close. Through the front of the boat, I could see other landing craft. Dozens of them, hundreds, all headed toward the same beach. I thought about all those men, all of us going in at once. Thought maybe there'd be safety in numbers. I was wrong about that, too. The boat lurched. We were getting close. I could hear it now. Not just our artillery, but theirs. The German guns firing back. And something else. A sound like angry hornets. Machine gun fire. 30 seconds, someone shouted. My hands were shaking so bad I could barely hold my rifle. I looked at Jimmy. He looked at me. Didn't say anything. Didn't need to. The boat hit something, scraped, ground to a halt. We weren't all the way in. The water was going to be deep. Go, go, go. The ramp dropped, and hell opened up in front of us. The noise hit first, a wall of sound so loud it felt solid. Machine guns, rifles, mortars, screaming, all of it at once. Couldn't tell one sound from another, just noise, pure, terrible noise. Then I saw the beach, bodies, already floating in the water, lying on the sand. Men from the earlier waves, some moving, most not. The water was pink, not red like in movies. Pink, like someone had spilled strawberry milk. Move, Morrison screamed. Get off the boat. The first man off the ramp went down immediately. Just dropped into the water, didn't even make a sound. The second man hesitated, went down too. Machine gun fire stitching across his chest. But we couldn't stop, couldn't go back. The only way was forward. I jumped, hit the water. It was deeper than I expected, up to my chest. Cold, shockingly cold. My pack felt like it weighed 1,000 pounds, pulling me down. I struggled forward, trying to run, but you can't run in chest-deep water with 60 pounds of gear. Bullets hitting the water all around me, making little splashes, like rain, like deadly rain. A man next to me screamed, went under. I didn't stop, couldn't stop, just kept pushing forward, toward the beach, toward the sound of the guns. I made it to the beach. Don't know how. Divine intervention, dumb luck, doesn't matter. I made it. Threw myself down behind one of the steel obstacles they'd put in the water. Czech hedgehogs, they called them. Triangles of steel meant to stop tanks. I used it for cover, pressed myself into the sand, tried to make myself small. The sand wasn't really sand anymore. It was torn up, cratered, mixed with blood and parts of people. I was lying next to someone's arm. Just an arm, still in its sleeve, wedding ring on the finger. I stared at it, couldn't look away, couldn't process what I was seeing. Mortars were coming down now, big explosions throwing up geysers of sand and water and pieces of men. The sound was inside my head, rattling my skull. I couldn't hear anything else. Couldn't hear myself screaming, but I knew I was because my throat was raw. Move up! Move to the seawall. Someone was shouting orders. An officer, maybe. I couldn't tell. Couldn't see much through the smoke and sand, but I understood. Couldn't stay here. Had to move. I ran. Sprinted across open beach while machine gun fire kicked up sand all around me. Tracer rounds streaking past like angry fireflies. Men falling. So many men falling. I dove behind a burned-out tank. DD tank. One of ours that had sunk or been hit. 3 bodies half in, half out of it. One of them was still moving, making sounds, wet, bubbling sounds. Tommy appeared next to me. His face was gray. He wasn't carrying his harmonica anymore. Wasn't carrying anything but his rifle. Where's Jimmy? I shouted. He just shook his head, pointed back toward the water. Number, no, no, no. But there wasn't time to think about it. A mortar hit close. The blast threw me against the tank. My ears were ringing. Couldn't hear anything but a high, thin whine. I looked up. The cliffs above the beach were alive with German positions. Pillboxes, bunkers, fighting positions carved into the rock. They had perfect fields of fire. Could see everything. Could hit everything. We were fish in a barrel, lambs to the slaughter. Pick your metaphor. We were dying. The naval bombardment hadn't done a damn thing. All those shells, all that firepower, and Jerry's positions were intact, waiting for us. They'd known we were coming. Of course they'd known. A soldier next to the tank tried to move forward. Machine gun caught him across the legs. He went down screaming, clutching his thighs, blood pumping between his fingers. So much blood. Medic! Someone was screaming. Medic! But the medics were dying too. I saw one running forward with his Red Cross armband, trying to reach the wounded. German sniper shot him through the head. He dropped like his strings had been cut. They were shooting the medics. The medics. Danny Sullivan ran past, his red hair unmistakable even through the smoke. He was shouting something, rallying men, trying to get them moving forward. That's Danny, I thought, always the brave one. Then he stepped on a mine. The explosion lifted him off his feet. When he came down, he wasn't whole anymore. He was pieces, scattered across the sand. His helmet landed near me. The picture of his girl was still tucked in the netting. I vomited. Right there in the sand. Heaved up everything in my stomach while bullets cracked overhead and men screamed and died around me. This wasn't war. This was murder. This was a slaughterhouse. We have to move. Tommy was pulling at me. Bobby, we have to move or we die here. He was right. Staying meant dying. Moving meant probably dying. But at least moving gave you a chance. We ran. Made it maybe 20 yards before Tommy went down, shot through the shoulder. He spun around, fell hard. I grabbed him, started dragging him toward a shell crater. More men were in the crater. 5, 6 of them. Some wounded, some just hiding. One guy was crying, calling for his mother. Another was praying in Latin. A sergeant, I didn't know his name, was trying to organize them. We need to take out those positions, he was shouting, pointing up at the cliffs. Bangalore torpedoes. We blow the wire and we move up. But we didn't have Bangalore torpedoes. They were at the bottom of the channel, sunk with the men who carried them. We had rifles and grenades and terror. That was it. The sergeant stood up to get a better look at the German positions. Sniper shot him through the throat. He fell back into the crater, blood spraying. Made that same wet, gurgling sound. That sound I'd heard from the man in the tank. That sound I'd hear for the rest of my life. I pressed myself into the sand and tried to become part of it. Tried to sink into the earth and disappear. 20 minutes on the beach and I wanted to die. Not in a suicidal way. Just in a please let this be over way. But it wasn't over. It was just beginning. Hours passed. Felt like years. The tide was coming in. Bodies that had been on the sand were now floating in the shallows. Some of them were boys I'd trained with, boys I'd eaten breakfast with that morning. Now they were just debris, rolling with the waves. Tommy was still alive, barely. The bullet had gone clean through his shoulder, but he was losing blood. I'd tied it off with a bandage from my kit, but it wasn't enough. He needed a real medic, a hospital. He needed to be anywhere but here. Bobby, he whispered. His lips were white. Tell my mom. Tell her. You'll tell her yourself, I said. But I didn't believe it. Neither did he. More landing craft were coming in. More men. They'd changed the plan. We're landing them further down the beach where the defenses weren't as strong. But we were still pinned here. Still dying here. A group of rangers had made it to the base of the cliffs. I watched them climb, watched German grenades roll down on them, watched them fall, tumbling down the rocks, but more kept climbing, like ants, persistent, desperate ants. Some made it to the top. I heard small arms fire up there, Americans and Germans fighting in the bunkers. The machine gun fire slackened. Not much, but enough. Move! Everyone move! Officers were shouting again, trying to get us off the beach. The seawall was maybe 50 yards away. Might as well have been 50 miles. But I couldn't leave Tommy. Wouldn't leave him. Go, he said. Reading my mind. Go, Bobby. I'm not... Go! He pushed at me with his good arm. I'll be fine. Medics will get me. We both knew that was a lie, but I wanted to believe it, needed to believe it. I ran, made it 10 yards before I had to throw myself down again. Artillery now, big shells coming in from inland, German 88s, could hear them screaming before they hit, could feel the blast in your chest when they landed. A shell hit one of the landing craft just as it was unloading. The boat just disintegrated, went from solid steel to shrapnel in a heartbeat. The men inside never knew what hit them. 1 second they existed, the next they didn't. I kept moving, crawling, running, diving, following other men, staying close to anyone who seemed to know what they were doing. A captain, his name tape said Miller, like mine, no relation, was organizing men behind a disabled Sherman tank. "Flamethrowers," he was shouting. "We need flamethrowers on that pillbox." Someone had a flamethrower. I watched him run forward, this massive tank on his back making him a perfect target. He made it maybe 15 feet before machine gun fire found him, hit the fuel tank. He exploded, turned into a human torch, screaming, running in circles. Someone shot him. Mercy killing, put him out of his misery. I'd never seen anything like that, never imagined anything like that. And I couldn't look away, couldn't stop watching. My brain couldn't process what my eyes were seeing. Snap out of it, soldier. Someone was shaking me, a corporal. "You're still alive." "Act like it." He shoved a rifle into my hands. I looked down. It wasn't mine. Mine was gone, lost somewhere between the water and here. This one still had blood on it, someone else's blood. I checked the chamber. Still had rounds. I looked up at the German positions, picked a firing slit, and squeezed the trigger. Don't know if I hit anything. Didn't matter. Just needed to do something. Needed to feel like I wasn't just a victim. More men were making it off the beach now. Engineers blowing holes in the wire. Infantry pushing up the drawers. Slowly, inch by bloody inch, we were moving forward. But the cost, my God, the cost. Bodies everywhere. American bodies, hundreds of them, maybe thousands. I'd lost count. Lost the ability to see them as people. They were just obstacles now. Things to step over. Things to hide behind. I'd become something else. Something that could walk past a dying man and not stop. Something that could shoot at other human beings and not feel anything. The beach had broken something inside me, broken all of us. We weren't soldiers anymore. We were survivors, and survivors do what they have to do. By late afternoon, we'd taken the heights, pushed the Germans back from the cliffs, secured the beach, they said. Victory, they said. I was sitting on a piece of concrete from a destroyed bunker, staring at nothing. My hands wouldn't stop shaking, couldn't make them stop. They just trembled like I was freezing, even though I wasn't cold. Someone handed me a canteen. I drank. Water mixed with the taste of smoke and blood. Everything tasted like smoke and blood. "You did good, kid," a sergeant said. Different sergeant. The one from the crater was dead. They were all dead. Did good. What did that even mean? I'd survived. That was all. Thousands hadn't. I walked back down to the beach as the sun started to set. Don't know why. Maybe to prove to myself it was real. Maybe to see if Tommy was still there. The beach was a nightmare landscape. The tide had gone out again, revealing the full scope of the slaughter. Bodies in the sand. Bodies in the water. Body parts. Equipment. Helmets. Rifles. Personal effects scattered everywhere like some kind of terrible yard sale. Medics and graves registration teams were moving among the dead, checking for dog tags, covering faces, loading bodies onto trucks. There were so many bodies. I found Tommy where I'd left him. He was still in the crater, still alive somehow, but barely. His skin was gray, his breathing shallow. "Bobby?" His voice was so quiet I almost didn't hear it. "I'm here, Tommy. I'm here." Did we take it? Yeah, we took it. He smiled, just a little. Good. That's good. He died right there. Just closed his eyes and stopped breathing. No drama, no last words. Just stopped. One moment alive, the next not. I should have cried, should have felt something, but I was empty, completely empty. Just a hollow thing shaped like Bobby Miller. I sat with him for a while. Don't know how long, until someone pulled me away. Said I needed to rejoin my unit. What unit? Everyone was dead. Jimmy was dead. Tommy was dead. Danny was dead. Lieutenant Morrison was dead. Everyone. They gave me a new rifle, assigned me to a different company, names I didn't know, faces I didn't recognize. We were supposed to push inland the next day, keep the momentum going. Momentum, like we were a football team, like this was a game. That night I sat with my back against a hedgerow and stared at the stars. Same stars that were over Ohio, over my mother's house with the vegetable garden and the apple pies. Felt like a different universe. A guy next to me was writing a letter home. What should I tell them? He asked. About today? I looked at him. He was young, 17 maybe. Lied about his age, probably. Baby face. Hadn't seen much yet. Hadn't been on the beach. Tell them we won, I said. Tell them it was glorious. Was it? I didn't answer. What was there to say? That glory is a lie they sell to get boys to run into machine gun fire. That war isn't noble or heroic. It's just meat and metal and screaming. That I'd watched my friends die for a stretch of sand that didn't even have a name. He kept looking at me, waiting for an answer. Tell them whatever helps you sleep at night, I finally said. But I knew the truth. Nothing would help me sleep. Not that night. Not any night. Not ever again. I closed my eyes and saw the beach. Saw the bodies in the water. Saw Tommy's face going gray. Saw Danny scattered across the sand. Saw the flamethrower soldier burning. Opened my eyes. The images were still there. Still behind my eyelids. Still burned into my brain like film overexposed to light. A sergeant came by, checking on us. Get some rest, boys. Tomorrow we move out. Rest. As if rest was possible. As if any of us would ever rest again. I pulled my knees to my chest and started rocking. Just slightly. Back and forth. Back and forth. Like my mother used to rock me when I was small and had nightmares. But this nightmare was real. And I was still in it. Would always be in it. D-Day. The day we liberated Europe. The day we won the war. The day I stopped being human. I made it through the war. Fought through France into Germany. Saw more battles, more death. But nothing ever compared to that first day on Omaha Beach. Nothing ever will. I came home in 1946. My mother threw her arms around me at the train station and sobbed. My father shook my hand, tears in his eyes. The whole town turned out. Bands playing, flags waving, heroes welcome. I smiled, said the right things, posed for photographs, accepted handshakes and backslaps and free drinks at the local bar. Played my part. But inside, I was still on that beach. They gave us medals. Bronze Star for me. Said I showed courage under fire. Courage. I don't remember being courageous. I remember being terrified. I remember running because staying still meant dying. That's not courage. That's just animal survival instinct. I tried to go back to normal life. Got a job at my father's friend's hardware store. Started dating a nice girl named Helen. Went to church on Sundays. Did all the things you're supposed to do. But I couldn't make it work. Couldn't be the person I was before. That person was dead. Drowned in the English Channel. Or blown apart on the beach. Or buried in a crater somewhere in France. The nightmares started right away. Every night. Sometimes I'm back in the Higgins boat, that ramp about to drop. Sometimes I'm in the water, drowning under the weight of my pack. Sometimes I'm running across the beach and I look down and I'm stepping on Tommy's face. I wake up screaming, drenched in sweat, heart pounding. Takes me hours to remember where I am, that I'm not there anymore, that I'm safe. Except I'm not safe. Not really. Because part of me never left that beach. Loud noises make me hit the ground. Fireworks on the 4th of July send me into a panic. I can't go to the ocean, can't even look at pictures of beaches. The smell of diesel fuel makes me vomit. Helen tried to understand. She really did. But how do you explain to someone who wasn't there? How do you make them understand that the man they're dating died in 1944 and what came back is just a ghost wearing his face? We broke up after 6 months. She said I wasn't really there, even when I was sitting right next to her. She was right. I started drinking. Not a lot at first. Just enough to quiet the memories. Just enough to sleep. But it's never just enough, is it? One drink becomes two, becomes a bottle. Before I knew it, I was one of those guys. The ones you see in bars at noon, staring at nothing, trying to drown something that won't die. My father got me into a VA hospital. They had a name for what I had. Battle fatigue, combat neurosis, shell shock. Different words for the same thing, broken. The doctors tried to help, talked about processing trauma, about moving forward, about not letting the past control the present. Nice words, didn't change anything. I'm 41 now, got sober 5 years ago, got a job as a night janitor at the high school. Quiet work, no one bothers me. I can do it on autopilot, which is good because half my brain is always somewhere else. Always back there. I've been to the reunions, the D-Day veteran gatherings. Everyone slaps backs and tells stories and drinks toasts to the fallen. They talk about the brotherhood, the bonds forged in combat, the glory of the mission. I don't go anymore. Can't stand it. They're remembering a different war than the one I was in. Or maybe they've just gotten better at lying to themselves. Sometimes people ask me about it, especially kids. They've seen the movies, Saving Private Ryan, The Longest Day. They think it was like that, heroic, meaningful. They want stories. I tell them it was muddy, that the food was terrible, that France is pretty, that I'm glad we won. I don't tell them about the sounds men make when they're dying, about the weight of knowing you survived while better men didn't, about the way water looked pink with blood, about standing on pieces of your friends to get across that beach. I don't tell them that every June 6th I can't get out of bed, that I spend the whole day curled up, shaking, reliving every second, that my hands still tremble when I think about it, that I still hear the screaming. They call us the greatest generation, say we saved the world. Maybe we did, but the cost, no one talks about the cost. Jimmy Kowalski never got to crack another joke. Tommy Chen never played his harmonica again. Danny Sullivan never married that girl whose picture he carried. They're forever 19, forever young, forever dead on a beach in France. I'm alive. I have a small apartment, a steady job, enough money to get by. I survived. But Bobby Miller, that kid from Ohio who loved his mother's apple pie and thought war would be an adventure, he died on Omaha Beach on June 6, 1944. What came back was something else. Someone else. A hollow man filled with ghosts. People see the medal on my wall and think it represents heroism. It doesn't. It represents survival. And survival isn't the same as living. At night, when I can't sleep, I sit by the window and watch the street. I think about all the men who didn't make it off that beach. Wonder what they would have done with their lives, what they would have become. the families they would have had, the dreams they would have chased. And I think about how we're told that war is necessary, that it's noble, that it's the only way to stop evil. Maybe that's true. Maybe D-Day had to happen. Maybe those men had to die. But don't tell me it was glorious. Don't tell me it was clean or heroic or anything but what it was, a slaughterhouse, a meat grinder. Young men fed into machine guns for strategic objectives and political goals. We won. We beat the Nazis. We saved Europe. And I'd do it again if I had to. But I'd do it knowing the truth. That war doesn't make heroes. It makes corpses and ghosts. And sometimes it's hard to tell which one you are, the greatest generation, the men who stormed the beaches, the heroes of D-Day. We were just kids, scared kids who were told to run into hell, and we did because we didn't know any better. Some of us made it back. Most didn't. And those of us who did make it back, we never really came home. Part of us is still on that beach. We'll always be on that beach, running through the water, watching our friends die, learning that the world is crueler and more terrible than we ever imagined. They built monuments to us, beaches named after the battles, cemeteries full of white crosses, museums and movies and memorial services. But the real monument is inside us, the survivors. We're the walking, breathing memory of what happened there, and we'll carry it until the day we die. June 6th, 1944, the day we invaded Normandy, the day we won the war, the day we lost ourselves. I survived D-Day, but I never came home. None of us did.